Hey, everybody, and welcome to Project Peacock. We are here with Tara Liaschenko. Hopefully I've said that correctly. Tara is from the Link Events, President and CEO, partner, founding partner. She is the Link Events. If you've been to a Project Peacock print fair, then you have already seen Tara and her team's amazing work. All of the colors, all of the amazing food. I picked the playlist, but they made sure that the music was always on. I mean, every detail that was peacocked out at the Project Peacock print fairs is from Tara and her team. I mean, the attention to detail. I was like one of those lucky people that just kind of got to walk into this amazing experience and didn't have to set it up or clean it up, which was beyond a bonus. So for all of that, Tara, first of all, thank you so much for all of that. And thank you so much for being willing to join us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and share merge of our two industries and how interconnected they really are.
They really are. So to start that off, can you let everybody know, just so they know who they're talking to here, that you're the cheese over there in the event space and event planning meeting space. Can you let everybody know a little bit about your background, please?
Sure. So I think I've told you I'm going to go back a little ways because it all kind of blends into how we ended up here with the Link Event Professionals. So back in college, I was studying international business and fashion. And my junior year was introduced to fashion show production and immediately fell in love with the coordination and planning and design. After college, I moved to San Francisco because you have no fear and no money. So you just do things like that. And I loved the city and I started my own business, and it was The Link, believe it or not. And it was an agency for models, makeup artists, designers, hairdressers, and photographers. So we were the only one-stop shop agency where people could get video shoots or photo shoots or all that kind of stuff done. And it was really fantastic. And that's what got me introduced to the beauty industry. I had some colleagues, and then I did some work with Paul Mitchell and Nioxin and some other companies. And the one thing that I always had lingering in the back of my mind, or my gut, I should say, is that I just knew I didn't know what I didn't know. And that's dangerous sometimes. And so there I was with a business card and a bank account and had a company, and decided that it would be wiser for me to go learn on somebody else's, clock, so to speak, so that I could really gain the skills and figure out what I needed to learn. So one of my clients, a hair product manufacturer, brought me on. And I started as I think a director position or something. And I ended up being the, oh my gosh, I totally forgot my title, but I was head of education for the United States, North America. And so I was doing 360 meetings and events a year. And I loved it while I did it. But after 4 years, that's a lot to handle. And, and it was time to move on. So my wife and I moved to Florida. I worked with the Home Shopping Network as their director of on-air image and product knowledge. Come to find out, not the job for me. I thought it was my dream job. Isn't that weird when you feel like, oh my gosh, I found my dream job. And then you're like, this is the worst idea ever. I found out that I really needed a beginning, middle, and end to the things that I was doing. In TV shopping land, it is literally chasing a wheel of $1 per minute. And I just felt like we never accomplished anything. And it was 3 networks live 24/7. I worked with the models, makeup artists, and product knowledge. And it was just, I wouldn't have ever left. So I have to say, I'm really glad after I was in the 3rd round of layoffs after 9/11. And I thank them every day for that, because that's when I really realized, holy cow, that's not really what was meant for me. Right. And that's when we started this company. So we've had the company, this will be 18 years this summer. And I'm really excited. We have 6 women on the team total, including myself. We plan just about every sort of event you could do. We don't really do weddings. That's not really our thing. But anything corporate, association, conference, meeting, party, that sort of stuff.
Now, you also have a bunch of initials after your name. What is that all about?
So I'm very active in an organization called Meeting Professionals International. And I know we'll get in more detail about that. They own a designation called the Certificate of Meetings Management. And it's an international designation really around a more strategic entrepreneurial approach to the meetings and events industry. But I'm happy to say on our team, I think 4 out of the 6 of us have designations. 4 out of the 6 are past presidents of chapters around the country. So we're very active, innovative, and highly value industry knowledge and furthering education. You know, we're really a proponents of the lifelong learner concept.
So you and I, you know, we've become friends. I would say friends. And
Yeah.
last year you actually checked in with me, and it was right around the time that I was contemplating how I was going to manifest Project Peacock this year, because we lost last year. And I was like, we can't lose another year. And I'm like, I don't know. I think I need to take it online somehow. And you were like, well, actually, we have an online division. And I was like, what? Did you just pivot to that now? And you were like, hell no, you were prepared. So I want you to tell everybody this story, because this is something I kind of wish you told me in 2019, by the way. In 2020, it kind of clicked in one day. I was in my kitchen making coffee and I was like, oh, diverse customer base. I understand that now. Because while you were on the management and planning of events end of it, I was at the go attend and work at events end of it. So for me, the rug was just pulled out and I had no backup plan. But please, this is really important to me, because this is what I call strategic disaster planning. So can you tell the story for everyone?
Sure. You know, there's hard knocks anytime you're an entrepreneur at certain points, and you hope that we learn from them. So the COVID-19 was a big test for us. Back in 2007, so pre-2007, in the meetings and events industry, there was a big conversation between diversity and niche. And everybody felt that niche was the way to go. You know, you can't be great at everything. So, you know, pick a category. Well, so accidentally, I'll say, fell into doing real estate events, particularly with the condo conversion boom. Yeah, so as we were getting closer and closer to spring of 2007, you know, we're hearing rumblings of things. And I feel like we were really an early indicator, because most people didn't get hit too hard till after that. But March of 2007, because I'll never forget it for the rest of my life, we lost every single client that month. We were staring at each other with no business. And we're like, you know, we're going to have to fight through this. And we might as well use the time wisely and come up with a really good strategic plan to prevent this from ever happening again, and being somewhat recession proof. And so we looked at different categories of markets, and we started in religion, went medical and association. I would say those were our hardcore categories. We have a couple other ancillaries. And then, so when COVID hit, well, the other piece is I do a lot of facilitating and speaking. So that piece automatically went virtual. But 5 years ago, we had brought an event technologist on our team. So we were already in the virtual world. We were already online. We were doing a lot in apps, all event technology, but virtual and online programming was part of that. So all our association clients were easy enough to convert over to online. We were ready for that. We did lose our medical healthcare management type events, a lot with hospitals and that sort of thing. And we lost all the in-person with that. Now we've just booked our first in-person coming up. So, you know, light at the end of the tunnel. But they recommended us to the state and the county to build COVID testing sites, because it's just like setting up an event. You put a tent up, you do a generator. And so we ended up having a really good year, and I'm proud of us on the business side. My heart really goes out to my colleagues that really struggled this year. And, you know, something we can commiserate on, Deborah, is, you know, we can talk about how we met, because we flew so much that I had seen you on planes. And so you were waiting for a ride, and I never do this, but I randomly talked to you and just said, like, you must travel as much as I do. And that's what started this. I too was traveling like 80% of the time. And so I think for people who were used to that level of travel, like, this was tough for everybody, let's be honest, but the transition from that level of travel to being stuck in one place was really difficult. you know, it was hard to, I think really hard emotionally, and everybody's got stories like that. So I know I'm not alone, but I just felt like after all that travel, I've done one trip last month, and I'm leaving Friday for my second trip. So I'm easing my way back into it safely, of course, and I'm vaccinated. But yeah, it's been a journey, and I mean, I can say that I'm super grateful, and that we were smart enough back then to make
Yeah.
the adjustment and ended up having a decent year. So
Well, I mean, yeah, you were strategic about it, and you took that approach that this is never going to happen to us again, and you didn't let it happen to us again. And I kind of say that now, to printers when I have the opportunity to speak to them, obviously online events and things like that, that there is no excuse not to have a COVID disaster, a pandemic disaster plan moving forward. And you can also market yourself about how you handled last year, and it's an opportunity to look at all your processes and how did people do work with you, and was it easy to do work with you? And if it wasn't, what could you improve? In case this ever happens again, there is no excuse. Now, myself included in this, I mean, people say you only teach what you need to learn. So I listen to this very carefully now. And believe me, when everyone starts telling me a story about diverse customer base, now they have my full attention. I'm like, tell me more. Tell me how you get to that place where not, if any one thing happens, it doesn't take you all down, the entire foundation of your world. And to your other point, I have a guest bathroom that is now, the bathtub is my suitcase storage area, because I had so many suitcases. I would just come home, pull the next one out, put the clean clothes in, and go. And now I had an entire dining room of suitcases, and I was like, well, I don't want to look at them. So they're in the bathtub in this other bathroom, and it's pretty
I
funny.
get it. I
Yeah.
have them hidden in nooks and crannies, like
Yeah.
between the TV stand and the dresser in the bedroom, between
Yes.
like just wherever I could fit them,
I
because we
have,
had
there's like 8 or 9 in here, and I'm just one person. I'm just telling you,
so
it's
many.
completely out of control. All right,
I did. Can I
go
say
ahead,
one thing though?
please.
Because it has to do with COVID. I think now more than ever. So there's a huge opportunity with all of this in the print industry, in my opinion. Um, when you are so inundated with virtual and online things, the power of receiving something in print is that much more important. So when I'm working with the chapters that I facilitate and their boards about member outreach, or we work on events, the recommendation now is go mail. Because
Really?
yeah, because it means so much more to get something
Yeah.
like that than, I mean, people delete half their emails anymore. They're so sick
Mhm.
of online stuff. So
Right.
I think that there's a new renaissance for that's going to come back.
Okay, well, that's what I want to get into all of that, but I want to start a little further back right now and say, okay, here you are, an inside person with inside information, pretty much. When do you and by the way, Tara's not a doctor. She's not making medical predictions, nothing like that. I'm asking you in your professional meeting capacity. When do you think events are going to come back? Are they going to come back small and get big? Or is 2022, what is going on in meeting planner world and in event planning world?
So let's talk right now. We're coming into association conference season.
Okay, so hold on, just to give people a frame of reference, it's the middle of May 2021. Go ahead.
Yes, so we're getting ready to go into the summer season. A lot of conferences take place. Our conferences are in person, but at a much smaller capacity. So one that normally is at 500, they'll let 200 on site due to social distancing, even though the state is open. So I want to be clear that just because the state says it's open doesn't mean that the company or the association or the venue is willing to take any risks. So that's something to keep in mind. The other one that's going to be in Vegas is probably going to be less than half the size it normally is, but all of them will have an online presence too, which has allowed them to expand their audience. So all the people in Europe that aren't going to make it to the MPI conference in Vegas, they're all going to be able to be online when normally they wouldn't have been able to participate anyway. So, right. So there's, some incredible opportunities with this, but as we cusp into fall, So there's going to be some people digging their heels in through fall that they just don't want to take the risk. It's just now they figured out online. They're going to focus on a big grand thing in 2022. Others are willing to start doing things this summer on a smaller scale. And then by November, maybe even October, depending on how the statistics go. And you're right, I'm not a medical person. This is me, my brain, and my contacts and colleagues,
Right.
what I'm seeing and hearing. So, but I think by 2022, they're predicting things to get really close to normal.
Now, are they booking them with you now? Are they discussing things for 2022 yet? Like
Yeah.
big, regular, everything's back to normal
Yep.
type of whatever normal is, the new normal?
Yeah. Our 2022. Now, we haven't booked first quarter yet. So that usually comes later. It's a weird sales cycle. But I'm anticipating that in first quarter, they'll be in person. They'll just be the shorter lead times are the other thing that's happening. Of course, nobody knows what tomorrow holds. So they wait till the last minute to plan. So we have to be really on our toes. If they used to give us a year to plan an annual conference, we might be lucky if we get 6 months. So there's anything that can be done to make our worlds easier is really important. And we'll get to what your industry can do for that. But
Right.
yeah, so I think 2022 is looking strong.
Now, you mentioned before that whether or not the state says it's fine for 1 million people to gather in this space, that some companies, organizations, conference spaces, hotels, whatever it might be, might have a different opinion on that. And since it's their property, their conference, they can choose the rules with that. And that the reason I'm mentioning it is because when we spoke about doing this presentation last week, you said something to me that almost threw me on the floor, which was that COVID social distancing graphics are still alive and kicking in the event space, and not all of the event spaces or the hotels provide them in a way that they can be customized or things like that don't have their own logos on it. So let's start there with print needs, because I think that's really, I bet you right now there's a bunch of people watching this going, what? We are still talking about social distancing graphics? So tell them why we are.
So my opinion is that you're going to see the need for signage at conferences into 2022, just about best practicing. Nobody ever wants to see a slide back from this. So first of all, hotels, so let's say big chains, their corporate offices are determining what they have to do. That the state, yes, if the state says they're open, they can do it, but they have corporate policies that are dictating it. So the conference that I'm going to this summer, where we're having 200 instead of the 500 in person, it is social distanced. There will be signage, but the hotel is driving a lot of that. Now, I know the conference has a COVID plan in place. We have someone on our team who has a designation for COVID planning. So we've made sure that we're working with them on that piece of it. We're also teaching a class at that conference on how to do safe in-person and how to do safe hybrid. So we have the virtual piece with our event technologist, the planner with the designation, and then I'll MC that. But we're teaching association executives and planners on how to do their conferences safely. So we have to make sure that the conference is spot on. We can't have any loophole or error. But I think you're going to see the use of best practices, hand sanitizer, signage. I think you're going to see that go into 2022. Right. And you're noticing that foreign countries, some of them are opening much slower. Canada, for example. So just because we may start opening up, it doesn't mean that's going to happen quickly in other areas. And so those supplies are still going to be needed. But the change is that planners aren't going to want that signage, whether it's floor clings, pole wraps, whatever it is, to be branded with the hotel. I mean, they want a solid branded conference from top to bottom. So if they have invites, agendas, name badges, like all these things, they're going to want them to all have a common look. So maybe your venues stop doing some of that signage, but your planners are going to want to continue it for a while.
Typically, if you're working, I'm just going to pick New Orleans as a city, because who doesn't love New Orleans? typically, is that something you're ordering out of state, out of city, bringing with you, or do you use local vendors for things like that?
So it depends on the size of your organization. So if you work for a huge corporation, let's say at random, American Express, they have a huge corporate meeting planning department. So they've implemented a strategic meetings management program where they have vetted vendors that everybody have to use in order for cost savings and contracting and things like that. But the type of planner that we are, a third party, I'm not traveling with that. It just doesn't, it's not practical sense. And we usually work with a smaller team. So I would go local. I would have my same designer design everything and then have a local printer print it and deliver it for me.
And are you just randomly searching Google to find that person?
So I typically reach out to other planners in the area that are in MPI to see who they would recommend. So, to me, using an MPI person is an endorsement of sorts. Like I get that they get
Yes.
education. So I want to use vendors that the locals are using that can be
Yeah.
trustworthy. So, and you've seen that at your events where we've pulled in local vendors that I've gotten referrals from other planners when we did Peacock events.
Yes.
And so
I'm actually very happy to hear that this is the process. And I think that that's genius. Of course, you want the boots on the ground people to tell you who do they use for their events. Of course, that makes a lot of sense. And it goes back to why these customer relationships are so important. And even as a print buyer and advertising agency, I always tell people that that's the best recommendation you can get, is me just telling someone this is a great person to work with, because this, that, and the other thing. So I'm really actually happy to hear that process. Now, you mentioned that you are now in a world, at least till the end of the year, where events actually don't want everyone that they could attend to actually attend. So is that being handled as, these are the 500 people we're going to try first and see if we can get 200 people in there? Is there some sort of strategic messaging, or it's just first come, first serve, whoever kind of comes out there?
What I've been experiencing directly. So I would be interested to ask my team that question, because I wouldn't know that about the things that they're planning. For what I'm involved in, first come, first serve.
Really?
I think they were nervous that they were going to get so low numbers that they just were casting the net out there. I think as you see shifting into fall with limited capacity, they very well might try to target the audience, the biggest buyers, or, the best sponsors, or, so make sure that those key stakeholders have space.
Right. So I'm going to translate that. That means that meeting planners and event planners need printers who can be flexible, who can print different messages, different quantities, get things out. They might want to A/B test some things. They might, certainly it sounds like they want to customize. If I'm not saying it has to have Dear Deborah on it, personalized, but customize. In other words, all the sponsors get bigger buyers get a certain message, other attendees get a certain message. And so it seems like being able to kind of roll with the punches becomes a plus of a printing company who might want to do business with you. Is that fair and accurate statement?
Totally fair and accurate. That there's going to be a corporate or association logo, and then there's going to be a theme, and all that has to be tied together. But when I talked earlier about anything you could do to make the planner's life easier is going to get you the business. And so the more creative, so I think I mentioned before, there's two types of planners. There's an event planner and a meeting planner. So a meeting planner relies more heavily on logistics, whereas the event planner is more creative. So the meeting planner needs more creative help. And so if you come up with the creative ideas for them, they will be more likely to latch on to you. So don't wait for them to tell you what they want. They need you to show them what they can have.
Right. Now I want to 100% get back to that. So remind me, because sometimes I drift, but going back to this first thing about addressing the I love that you put it that the meeting planners are probably like what we think of as like desktop publishing. Like they don't have the design skills that, someone who's working in an advertising agency would have to have. So who also aren't so much need you to explain, give them ideas, more just to say, these are the tools you can play with, come up with your own ideas, which is what Project Peacock is all about. But then there are all these other people who are like, I have a list of 10 things I need to get: a banner, a floor graphic, a this, and I'm going to call somebody local and they're going to refer me to somebody. And what I'm going to most likely get is what I've always been getting, because why would that be different? And more than likely that printer doesn't want to rock the boat. If I'm getting these orders for these banners and the signage and this stuff, why would I need to do anything like that differently? So I think that's really interesting to understand. Now, is there some way, or are there, let me put it this way, are there some items that you know that a meeting planner would need? We'll keep event planners to the side for right now. Like if a printer was going to come up with a menu and they wanted to be creative with it and give them ideas, what are just some basic things 100% they're going to need for most of their meetings?
So funny you should ask that. I have a list in front of me that I created.
Oh, you do? How you are so efficient. And honestly, everybody out there, I did not know she had a list, and she did not know I was going to ask her that question. But go ahead.
That is true. So some of these aren't 100%, but you should still share the options. So from a pre-event or meeting standpoint, obviously invitations, mailers, postcards, things pre-promotion. During the event, there's a million things. So there's wrapping of columns, floor vinyl.
Wait, are we talking meeting planning or?
But this goes to both. You can apply concepts to both. Okay. The difference is one has more creative skill set than the other typically.
I hear what you're saying.
I don't want to.
The meeting planner is going to use a templated thing, and an event planner is going to put some little zhuzh on it or something.
Yeah. So Klingons, if there's maps, any signage, and there's all there's
tell me
restroom signage.
What are you defining as a Klingon?
Something that can cling to a window.
Okay, window
can
cling.
stick to the wall.
No problem.
Stick to the floor. Okay.
So
it could be a language thing. Yeah, semantics.
Yeah. No, I'm just. So, but that's what you call it. It's important for everyone to know. If someone wants a Klingon, they're not looking for a character in Star Trek. They're actually looking for a window graphic or a floor graphic, a decal. Okay, go ahead.
Probably, yes.
The Klingon.
Regular standard signage. There you go. Banners, stage signage, which is different than other signage, step and repeats, directional signage, booth signage, programs, booklets, passports for trade shows. I'm sure I'm missing some things, but thank you notes, things of that nature that you have to think from beginning to end. So if you could have a package, the one thing they're going to know is I want 3 banners for this, for the most part. But they really could use help on the creative side. I mean, the plain sign with the logo in the corner, and maybe they have a clear plastic sleeve for an arrow to go in, or or a time slot. There's, I think, many more creative things that can be used. And when engagement's more important than ever, and people are excited to be in person, I think using signage to control traffic flow, and things like that. And for now, safe distancing and ways to do that, we have to get creative and make sure that people can really see it and get that it's part of your event or meeting.
Are you finding any trending towards using QR codes on any of these graphics to create an interactive element to it, even if it's just to access the schedule of the event or restaurants in the neighborhood? Are you finding a trending in event world?
Yeah. It's especially now that it's so easy with your phone. You don't really even need to get an app. You can, your phones have been designed to do that. So yeah, I'd say QR codes are being used a lot too. From how they were used in the beginning, I think it's different. It used to be that they were used to capture your data at a conference. right?
Yes,
Remember?
yes, yes,
Now,
contact information, yes. Mhm.
yes. So now it's used as a faster avenue to access information. So you go to a restaurant, you get their menu. You go, so there's, I think you go to the sign and you get the schedule, and it's,
Right.
so it's a little different use. Instead of having to go online, check the website, do all that, you just hold that phone up and, you get the information that you need. So surely, yes, they're
Yeah.
going to be using that more and more.
There's also another aspect to it, which is that, while some people enjoy carrying a bag of printed materials around a trade show, I'm actually not one of them. I go the night before, so I get that bag and I dismantle it and I pull out the 3 things I need in that bag, and I'm not carrying that thing around all day. No offense, I just not how I roll. I like my hands free, and I've usually got a camera and I'm tweeting, I'm doing something, so I don't like carrying that stuff around. But there is actually that is actually a great option for printers to present to people. Like, look, not only could we we can print all of your printed materials, of course, but there are some people who might not want to carry it around or ship at home or whatever. Here's what we can make you a little tabletop QR code where they could scan it, and then all the documents the PDFs would be there, or maybe it's that I could fill in my mailing address and the company then gets to mail them for me. But there's a way that they can kind of step up with an idea, maybe, if someone hasn't heard of it. That seems very simple thing to introduce. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a way to access more people. The person that doesn't want to pick something up isn't going to stop by. You'll be
Nope.
lucky if you get them to look at it, because they're afraid you're going to force it on them.
Sometimes
And
I don't
then,
even pick up my conference bag because I don't want to carry it around.
yeah, I don't like carrying all that stuff, but I do walk around with my phone and take pictures, and then it reminds me of what I saw. And I think I told you this, I was at the Dallas Project Peacock event, where after we got done with the education piece, I was walking around making sure everything was fine and glancing at the tables, and my mind went bananas with seeing all, like, planners have no idea what's available to them. I mean, I consider myself fairly knowledgeable.
Well,
And
now you had better be after 5 Project Peacocks.
oh yeah, the great ideas and mediums and textures and colors, and like it was crazy. You could take something that, I mean, I think that even the people who were exhibiting there couldn't even imagine that this little plexi block with an image on the back could turn into a stage set with big squares, that you could light. Like, my mind was going crazy with how to apply all these things.
Mhm.
And so in an attempt to make planners' lives easier, it'd be great if your industry could share with planners what their creative options are. Maybe have, this is the high price point because there's high price, middle, and here's some fun creative things you can do in a more budgetary manner. And just, the easier you make their life, you're one of probably 100 vendors they're working with to
Right.
put this on, whether it's food or venue or transportation, whatever. So yeah, it's helpful.
You actually transitioned to kind of my next area, which was budget. So we are all mindful that a lot of these events coming back lost everything last year. I mean, members included, who just have, maybe they don't have their jobs anymore. So why would they be a member of an organization or whatever it might be? We can safely assume, even with less people at the event, that the budgets have shrunk. But I don't want that to scare the printers. So I really think I love what you just said, and I just want to make sure I heard it correctly. That not knowing what a planner or what a meeting planner or an event planner's budget might be, to come in with 3 options, what I call the small popcorn, the medium popcorn, and the large popcorn. And most of the time you can get them to the medium popcorn, because the small popcorn, the first option is your logo in the corner and this type, and that's it. But for a little more money, we can make the whole thing blue, or we can customize it in this way or that way. And then of course you've got the everything that blew you away at Project Peacock and the third option, and then they can decide maybe they want a little from A, a little from B, and a little from C. But so what you're saying is that that is the best way to deal with them, not to say to them, well, what's your budget or anything like that.
Planners hate that question. They want to see your product. And then from there, you know, it's interesting. People will find money when they like something, you know, so that budget question, they have an idea, but again, if you show them the 3 different price points, they have the option to pull a little from each bucket, and they can. The people that have the money know they have the money, and they don't want the reputation of picking from the middle bucket. They want people to know that they picked from the luxury bucket and that their program is at a Waldorf Astoria, and that, you know, those people know that. Obviously corporations have more money than associations, so you have to keep that in mind. For association, options that can be reused, at least for 2 years.
Like step and repeat banners and things like that.
Step and repeat, or even some signage that has, like I talked about the plastic sleeve. I mean, that's not the first thing I would think of, but you know, if it's generic association and then it allows them to theme an insert, then they get 2 years out of it. And to them, you know, then, and associations are loyal for life. Like once you get in with them, they will be extremely loyal to you for your partnership. So I think just understanding that there's those nuances. You know, I think there's really specific printers that would be more in the social or wedding category. But for other events, you know, if you're doing nonprofit events, less budget. If you're doing affluent people's events, then, you know, you could get a crazy budget. And that's where they want to see the creativity. You know, they want to see that they're going to have something that nobody else is going to have.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I appreciate that advice. It's really good advice. Okay, so here's kind of a weird question for you. Are planners in general responsible for how many people respond to an invitation? And before I get there, if they could report on things like how many people did something, does that become valuable? How does that all work when in your world?
So anything quantifiable is obviously really important because it can be used as a metric of measure. I would say that it's a balance between the planner and if there's a marketing person or department. So the two would be own responsibility for the response rate on that. But really what they would be looking for is a measurable tool for the overall conference or event. So yes, it doesn't matter who's responsible, they are responsible for the overall conference. So even if that's an element with shared responsibility, they're still going to need to measure that. So that's hugely valuable to determine, are they driving registration? This worked better than something else. Like those metrics would be fantastic. I haven't used any of those, so I would love to do that.
I have some friends for you on the Project Peacock platform then, because this is where I feel that we can really add value. On top of that, I'm assuming that meeting planners and event planners don't know about the United States Post Office marketing programs, where if you use interactive print, you get discounts and there you can. Okay, so there is a knowing that direct mail is probably number one on the need list now, and it seems like there's multiple touch points for it, including a thank you card, which to me, if it's sent in the mail, is direct mail. That there's a big opportunity to come in and differentiate yourself with, I can help you track and report and tell you how many people went to the website after they got the postcard, what they did, and then potentially have conference ads or meeting ads follow them around the internet after that. Seems like, now, are any of you doing that kind of stuff already? Do you talk about it at your conferences? Like, what are the types of things that, like, in your fantasy world, wow, I wish this could happen, because maybe we actually have the solution for it and we're not aware that you need it.
I have never heard that discussed. It doesn't mean, it just might mean not in my circles, or I haven't seen anything like that, but that's huge information. It should be talked at our conferences.
Okay, so now we know how we're going to get the meeting planners in here for a meeting in the summer. We're going to teach them all about how to use print and measure the results and the return on the investment for it. But please continue.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we could learn how to drive registration, how to track registration, and the lessons learned from the information we get, I mean, that's invaluable information. And no, I didn't know there was a USPS marketing something that gave discounts, and that would have been good to know. So yeah, any of that stuff that we can, as a third party planner, that I can share with my clients, you make me look like a rock star.
Right.
And for those corporate planners and association planners, it makes you look amazing to your superior or your board.
Yes.
So,
and guess what happens with the corporate planner? The corporate planner is still in a corporation where they buy print. Hi, everybody. I've got to tell you something. You're not going to believe what we just did. I sent a postcard and I know how many people went to the website and I know how many people registered from it. And that marketing department's going, what?
Yeah.
How do I get it in on that? So, going back to, believe me, they're telling everybody in the thing. Just as an FYI, not only for the QR codes, but if you put any sort of shiny stuff on direct mail, you can also get a promotional discount for that. So
writing shiny, got it.
Yeah, no, I think there's 7 different promotions. They happen. I mean, some of them don't affect you. Like one of them is mobile shopping, which is great for the Black Friday towards the end, and they targeted holiday time. So if I have a store and I'm sending a QR code or something like that, and it leads to it has to lead to an online store, then you can, get a discount for that. So, all right. Last thing I want to ask you is about collaboration. So pretend that you're a printer and you're cold calling a meeting planner. Let's go with someone we think needs a lot of help. Do you want to hear, hi, I can print great, I'm cheap and I'm fast? Is like, what is it that you want to hear from them that makes you at least stay on the phone or call somebody back or click on a website?
Well, I have to be honest with you. The phone, the email, you're not going to get too much response from that. Obviously,
Okay.
Planners, like other buyers, are super bombarded. I think I would refer back to the story that I told you when you asked me, where would I go get my print? And I would go to a professional association where I know qualified people will give a good recommendation. I can tell you, and I think this will shock you, that there are maybe, this is a big number, I don't even think we're close to this, 10 print sort of companies in the entire world that are affiliated with the largest meeting and events association in the world.
What?
Yeah, I actually think it's probably 3.
On purpose, or are other people locked out of that?
I don't think, just like I don't know certain things about your area, I think that maybe in your industry, you're focused on a different angle, a different category of business, a corporation where meetings and events are bigger than the automobile industry. And so, the value of what they bring to the table is huge. And a lot of people don't understand that. So my recommendation would is to get affiliated, because you'll be one of the only ones at the local chapter level. So there's chapters all over the world, but particularly in the States, I could tell you all of them. But at the local chapter level, they all need print for the programming that they offer. Most of them don't have that. So you, again, would be the only print resource for everybody. And it's a mix of all different types of members, depending on where you live in the country. So here in the Tampa Bay area, let's just say we're about 50-50 planner supplier. So real nice, good ratio. Globally, they're a little less than 50-50 on the planner side, but it's COVID, so we're a little off. But other chapters, they have, a similar situation. But even if they don't have a ton of planner members, all of their supplier members do print business. So there isn't a member of the entire global association that doesn't need print. Huh.
So are you saying that a print shop can join the association, sponsor? What?
Absolutely. You can join, you can sponsor. Yeah.
So basically you're saying infiltration is the best, like get a stand and show people, get a table and show people how you can help them make their next event something that is breathtaking or different, or track the results, or anything that you have to say about that.
So the best ways I think to get it involved are, one, offer to speak at a program about print and the event industry without selling, because that's not going to go over well. Two, volunteer on a committee. That's how you get to know the most people, and that's how word spreads about you. And then three, participate. You could have a table, or, I think showing creative ideas and how you can support them in the work that they do and make them look good will go a long way. And then there's some sponsor things you can do to showcase your products. Like if they have their annual gala, that's usually where they need something fun and different. It gives you a chance to be in the spotlight for that. But yeah, I would highly recommend that. There are several associations that are within the meetings industry. So Meeting Professionals International, there's an incentive, a society of incentive. I'm not going to get all these right, but that's another one. Anything, ASAE is the national association, but every state or major city has a version of it. So there's FSAE here in Florida, where at least 50% of their members are association executives. Every single one of them does at least one conference a year, if not more. Wow. So it's a gangbusters. But I don't know of anybody in print in my local statewide. So it's an untapped market, I think, for your industry to focus on meetings and conventions.
Yeah, I think that, I guess, I know I've had a booth at trade shows before, and I've been told, nope, the print comes from the mat, where it comes from, it's almost like, don't plug that in, don't bring your banner, so I think maybe we think it's on lockdown somehow, through the hotels, to who their vendors are, through the bigger places and who their vendors are. But it seems like you're saying that is not the case when it comes to the exhibitor, the events themselves, not the venues. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, in some cases. So yeah, there's going to be a venue that determines, like let's say you hire an expo company for your trade show. That expo company is going to have a printer that planner is not going to have control over.
Right. Just like if, by the way, if I want to print a billboard, most of the time, the media company I buy the billboard from is printing the billboard. So right. And by the way, it's easier because they have everything set up and you just have to be creative with what you're giving them. And they usually have good options. But let's just get back to this cold call thing for 1 second. So, okay, I agree with you. We'll leave the calling part out of it. But if I was going to send you something in the mail, or if I was going to send you an email with some things in it, just help give the people some hope, Tara. Give them, like, what should they avoid at all costs, and what would be a great way to keep you reading, at least?
Two things, in my opinion, and I'm sure there's more that I don't know because I don't know everything about your business. One, tell me how to grow my registration and track it. Attendance, whatever. That's huge, huge, huge. Two, we are suckers for creative stuff. So if you're going to show me trends in print for events, you'll keep me there. Like, I'm curious to see what those are,
Right. So content almost.
Yes.
Like, here are 5 ways to guarantee people open up your event direct mail.
Absolutely. These are the top colors in print this year. These are the top, what did you call it? Shiny, whatever. These are the 7
specialty finishing.
Yeah. See, I don't know the language.
No, it's okay. Well, I didn't know what you were talking about before.
So
you're Klingon.
So no, our planners are not going to know your language, but yeah, those finishing, all that's fun.
Right. I mean, that's at that Dallas Project Peacock. I don't know if you remember, but there was actually another meeting planner there who I ended up introducing you to, because she was walking around going, almost like I did, with the reason that, like, I had no idea any of this existed. And by the way, it boiled down to white ink a lot of times. I keep telling people this, but I'm sure you can recall that poster with the lion on it that it was actually at the Xerox booth. No reason not to give them a shout out for it. But my God, did people not just stare at it and not know that there was white ink out in the world. And those were print customers. So think, everybody out there watching this, think about that. Those are people immersed in at least having a talk to a printer or a vendor or a vendor or designer on a regular basis. Here you have these meeting planners who are planning meetings. They're not in the graphic business. They're not in the idea generation business. They're in I have a list. I need all of these things. And it's kind of up to the designer to make them pretty. But if you can be collaborative and add to that conversation with helping them with business results or some sort of results or some way that they can add value. And by the way, Tara is saying, don't concern yourself with what it costs, because they can work out things by maybe doing a little less direct mail so they could put more shiny stuff on the floor, or making the first mailing spectacular and then kind of pulling back as we get closer to the event, or the other way, whichever way is more important to the meeting planners, and the event planners. But that is what we're trying to do here. This is the intel portion of how print can help the planners. Now it's up to everybody out there to come up with their packages, come up with their ideas. And then what I think we're going to do is find out what they are. And then Tara's going to look at some of them. Tara and her team are going to look at some of them. And then we're going to determine if we have things that are, going to be very relevant to the people that we want, the meeting planners that we're going to present to. And then it'll all come back to the Project Peacock platform. Tara, any final words?
Well, I was just going to tell you, I'm also reaching out to a core group of planners. These are colleagues, people I've known for years, to find out, because I've never explored this, to find out what they would want to hear.
Yes, please.
From, the print community and what they would need, so that we can better advise your audience to how to serve them. It's a benefit for both of us to all work together.
Yes.
So, I'm so glad that I met you in an airport and that we've come together to support both our industries in a collaborative way.
You were the first person who ever talked to me in an airport. So thank you, other than lady, get out of my way. So thank you very much for that. And really thank you for your contributions to Project Peacock. I mean, whether it's in real life or online, the Link event professionals are all over it. Jeannie Power and Josh Power have been managing everything. It's been going great. I'm always recommend you guys. Actually, the Link has a booth in Project Peacock, so everyone should go in there and check it out and connect with them. And as I said, I highly recommend them for anything that you are doing out there in the world. Even if they can't do it, which I've never come across anything they can't do, except we had a little kabuki drop. I think that's Tara's safe word with me, by the way, kabuki drop. She made the mistake of telling me that at Project Peacock, I could hang a curtain and then at the right moment, drop it. And there would be the show and tell area. And I got a little obsessed with it. And I kept saying, can we have a kabuki drop? Can we have and then, so now it's Tara's safe word. Every time I go over there, she's like, kabuki drop. It's like, stop it with the kabuki drop.
Someday I will get that for you. We'll see.
Okay, I appreciate it. But until then, I just want to thank you so much for your time. I want to thank everyone who's watching for their so much for their time. Thank you for coming to the Project Peacock platform. Please go out to the partner booths, click around, make some new friends. In the networking section, you can look and see who else is in the platform, leave them little messages. Maybe they're here, you can talk to them. You can actually search and see who's online if you're here right now. So thank you everyone, everybody again for your time. And thank you so much, Tara.
Thank you.